Well, hello, welcome to the farm. What I'm doing today is I'm trying to get this house ready for two of the final contractors that are going to come in. We still have to have inspections, of course. We have to have inspections of the electrical and the plumbing so that we can have the insulation for the exterior walls and the roof, and then drywall, because at that point then the walls will be all closed in and we'll be ready for finishing out the rest, which is finished trim and cabinetry and things of that sort. But that being said, one of the key items in that comment is we're putting spray foam around this barn. Once they spray foam these walls, you're not running wiring through it. So if you don't have your wiring in, you're not going to come back later on and chase a wire through the wood and try to add something. So I have to be sure to go through and run every line that I can foresee in my head that I'm ever going to want, pretty much, before we get to spray foaming. Now, electrical, I've gone over the electrical. I walked through every single room to make sure that I had feed wire going to every box and such. Now, granted, that's got to go through inspection, so the inspector will let me know whether I got that right or wrong. And plumbing also. But what he doesn't go over is cable TV wiring, and most importantly, computer wiring, which is IT, which I'm running Cat 6E wire, which is the current wire of choice for IT, computers, internet. So that's what I'm doing today. I ran the cable TV wiring yesterday. Trying to think what the current spec on that was. I don't know, some kind of quad insulated CATV wiring. Ran those into each of the bedrooms. Possibly the bedroom downstairs is an office, so it's on two walls there. Also where any TV I think could ever be put, because like I said, you know, if it's just a jack on the wall and we don't ever use it, well, then we don't use it. So be it. That's fine. But you're not going to go adding it after the fact. So today I'm running my Cat 6E wiring for my internet. So right now I'm just bringing it into the laundry room. It's going to go through the wall right there into my utility room, and inside the utility room is where I will put a computer rack, 19-inch rack, or I don't know, punch down panel. I'm gonna have a punch down panel with a shelf so I can put my internet router or whatever I end up having there. I don't need that much out here, but that'll be my distribution point. Same goes with the cable TV. That's where I'll put a cable booster to boost the feed. Don't know where we'll have cable coming into the house, so we may have satellite. We're kicking that thought around, but that'll be on the far side of the house as far as I know, if we have that installation done that way. And anticipating that, I'm running a piece of conduit over to that side. Now I'm going to run conduit in a couple places. Like that one, I'm going to run a piece of conduit from outside on that side of the house, which is kind of the dead side of the house. This side of the house has a walkway, 4-foot walkway down the side of it. So we don't want to put stuff over there like a metal antenna tower, because it'll mess the look of the house up. Plus, it wouldn't be. Plus, we have to tunnel underneath it to bring wires up. If I do it on the other side of the house, there's nothing over there. Landscape. It's the front side of the house. Who cares? So we'll probably end up having a tower if we put a satellite up. We also may end up having to put just a TV antenna, high def antenna, because we pick up. Oh, I forgot how many it is we pick up. We pick up 30, 40 channels just with antenna, which is sufficient for us because we don't watch that much TV. But I'll run a piece of conduit from over there, and I'll run it all the way to the utility room in case we ever want something from that side to this side, and it'll be inside the spray foam. So that way I can pull the wire through that conduit using a pull wire, which I'll show you some pull wire here in a second. And I'm also going to do the same thing with the front porch. I am running a piece of conduit from the front porch up in that attic space of the front porch. It'll come here into the house. It'll go all the way up to the attic, all the way over, come down, all the way down inside the utility room. And I'm doing that because if we were to ever put solar in, that front porch roof is the prime location for solar panels, the way the sun runs at this house. If they're stationary panels, they would be up on the roof. They're out of the way, you can't see them, secured, and they get the most sun up there. So that way I'll be able to pull that wire through that conduiting using a pull wire, pull string, and it won't be nearly the hassle. I won't have to get into the attic. I don't know what kind of wire it would be, so I can't pre-run the wire. Well, I can always pre-run a pipe for it and pull the wire later. So just like we did in the floor for some of the electrical out to the island, I pre-put piping in the floor before we poured the concrete. Now there's conduit in the concrete where I can run my wiring up. So it makes it that much easier. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to show you just a little bit about what I'm doing. There's a lot more tools in the industry of pulling wire that's out there. I even have pull rods. I might go get my pull rods and use those because I pull electric wire, computer cabling at work. There's pull rods you can use, but that's mainly for finished walls, things of that sort. What I'm doing, it's not so much, but I am using a hack device, which literally is pull string that it's wrapped around an old hacky sack ball. If you remember hacky sacks from back in the 80s, it's a little small bean bag, half the size of a baseball, wrap the string around that, and I use that to throw. And it works. And it makes your life a whole lot easier, and you can cover a lot more ground real fast, especially when you're doing it by yourself. So I'll show you those, and we'll get to it. Hang on. All right, so this is actually pull string. It's a nylon string of some sort. I don't know what it's actually made of or whatever. This stuff is strong. I mean strong. You can buy it at any big box store, or I think even Walmart has it. It's called you just look in the wiring where your cable wiring is, and computer wiring if they have it or whatnot, and it's a pull string. You can use it for pulling wires. So I got my box full of Cat 6 cable here, and what I'm going to do is I put a slip knot in my wire, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend a kink in the wire. I'll put that slip knot on there, just pull it. I'm not going to pull it tight. You don't need to pull it tight. All you're going to do is hold on to it. I'm going to bend that over, take some electrical tape, and all I'm doing is holding that thing shut. That's all I'm doing. Just a couple loops around it to hold it shut. It's got it on there. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to pull this string, and it's going to pull that cable up. And then I'll show you how I run it through the trusses and whatnot using the hacky sack ball. So here's my old hacky sack ball, and the string, I've had this forever, used it forever. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up from downstairs. And there she is. There's the little loop we just made, and I pulled it up. Now I'm going to take this off for just a second, because I'm going to run it through my header board here. But then I'm going to put the string back on, and we'll show you that. So I'm taking that tape off. I'm going to loosen my loop. So I still have my slip knot. I'm going to go ahead and run it through. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on, put my string back on. And I made a mistake last time I put my tape on here, and I didn't put a tab on it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So when I put my string on here, my tape on it, okay, leave yourself some room. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to take your string, you see how, or your tape, I've got that tape sticking up, and I'm going to fold it over on itself. See that? So it literally makes a tab. And that's because you're taking this on and off. So now you got to sit there and try to find the end of the tape, and that's a pain in the butt. So and it's cold, and your fingers don't run right, and it's stiff or whatever. Well, you just grab the tab and you're done. So cheap way out. So now I got my loop back on it. So let me show you what we do with this. Okay, so technically speaking, the cabling is up in the attic. What little attic we have in this house. Couple rules to wiring. Number one, cable TV and computer wiring, you don't ever want to get it close to electrical. So any of your 110 volt electrical, or worse, 220 or anything else, you want to keep your computer wiring, and you want to keep your cable TV wiring. You want to keep that away from power. Causes an interference, you'll lose your signal, you start getting data loss across your computer systems, and your TV will be fuzzy and things like that. And that's because of that. You also don't ever want to run wiring over a light, like a incandescent light or whatnot on those. People don't understand is inside those incandescent lights, there's a transformer, and that transformer is very high voltage. And you run a wire over that, man, it just messes the signal all up. So you want to stay away from it. So I'm running this wiring. I'm kind of keeping it all together because I'm taking a path around my wiring as much as I can. If it does get close to a wiring, I make sure to push it over to the side, and I put a tack nail in it to hold it away from the wiring so that I don't get any interference. But what we're doing with the ball is literally you throw this. Now, as you can tell, you're going to be throwing it up in trusses. See how it goes up into the trusses and along trusses? So that's literally what I do is I find the path that I want this thing to go, and you take the ball. Now right now I can only get it past a pipe and one of the trusses, and you throw it over. You see it hanging on the other side over there. It's got weight, so it falls, and it falls to the ground on the other side. There it is on the other side. So I didn't have to bring the ladder over here, loop it over every single one of them, drag the ladder with me all day long or whatnot. I just pull my string now. There I go. And then I just go down to the next set, and I'll get in the position, and I'll throw over to the next truss, and the next truss, or the next truss. If you have a series of trusses, you get your ladder, you get up into the trusses a little bit or whatnot, and you just take that ball and you just wing it as far as you can through the trusses, and you only have to go to the far end to pull your wire down. You're not going up there and feeding, because let's face it, every minute you're on a ladder is a minute that you can get hurt. Especially this guy, because me and ladders don't get along. I don't know why. I didn't do anything to him, but I get hurt. So I'm going to keep throwing this hacky sack ball till I get it over to where my next penetration is, where it goes to the floor, and I'm going to route it down. I'm going to route it down to one of the wall boxes that I've got set on the floor. Usually at my wall boxes, I'm running the cable TV and the IT wiring to the same box, and then I'll put, you know, each of the terminations coming out there, because that's all I really need. I don't need any more than that. But today mainly it's wireless anyway for internet, but hardline wiring is faster than a wireless connection. So nowadays you can get up to gig speeds on it if you've got, you know, a compatible device. It'll run at a gig, and wireless just doesn't go gig. So some items we like having wireless, and some we like having the hard wire. So I'm going to keep throwing my hacky sack ball. I've got wiring for all the computers. I've got computer wiring that I'm also running to the TVs. Never thought about that anymore nowadays, have you? Because our TVs are smart TVs now, and they connect to the internet. And like I said, hardwiring them is better than putting your TV on wireless. It's easier on wireless because you just got to, you can just run, set the wireless up on it. But you can get faster throughput, which helps with streaming video. And I've got bare walls. I can run the wiring. It's not going to hurt me to run the wiring now. Most houses were not wired for it in the past. I have the opportunity now, so I'll do that now. I'm going to run all those to the TVs, possible computer stations where computers are going to go. And in this barn, I did run wiring for security cameras. So in all the corners of the barn and maybe some other points, such as on the porch, main doors, and anywhere else, I think that I may ever want wire or want a camera. I'm running wiring to those points so that I will have the availability to put in security camera systems. And more than likely I want to run PoE to my cameras. That's called Power over Ethernet, which means a lot of these cameras you buy nowadays, they come with multiple cables for hooking to run the video on them, but they also have a power plug that you have to plug it into. Well, how often do you have a power plug up in the eaves of your house? Very rarely. You'll have them inside your house where you could put your cameras near a power plug inside your house, but not outside. I mean, that's odd, especially up in your soffits where you normally would put your cameras pointing down at your doors and things like that where people can't tamper with them. So nowadays you can order PoE cameras, which is called Power over Ethernet, which means that the camera itself gets the power from your computer wire. Just like nowadays you can get power to VoIP phones and things, and some devices, access points and things like that through the wire. It's called PoE, Power over Ethernet, and makes it handy dandy. Run one wire and you're done, because I don't want to run power to all the corners of the barn and way up high and into soffits. That's a lot of wire. And then you've got the problem, you've got power close to my computer wire, and I don't want that. So that's my plan, and if we end up putting the security system in, I'll have my Cat 6 cable there ready to roll. So I'm gonna get to pull the wire. I'm gonna turn my radio back on because it's Christmas time. So they're playing 24 hours of Christmas music. But it's kind of festive, better than usual. and get holly jolly and start pulling wire. Stay tuned. Hope y'all enjoy. Well, I can't use the ball anymore. I've already thrown it across all the trusses. Use my tab to take this off. Now, this piece of tape, I mean, you don't have, it's nothing fancy. So one of the items you can do is you can just take the tape and just put it on your hand. And then you can use it for later. You can put it on your jacket or something of the sort. You don't have to get a new piece of tape every time. Sometimes you're taking them on and off, on and off, on and off. So I'm just taking it off, straighten the tip of it back out again. Coming over the trusses, I'm going to come down my holes here that I've already pre-drilled in the 2x4s and bring it down to the ground. And I'm going to push it down through the floor joist that I drilled a hole downstairs. So it's going down the floor plate. Rest of it downstairs. So here's my lines coming down from upstairs. That'll be a nice, too wide stepping ladder, so it's easier for me. Hopefully I don't fall as often. Measure off how much I'm going to need at the box. I'm going to cut this rest of this off. Now, just like when you're running an electrical cable to wall boxes and things of that sort, I want to know which wire this is when it gets to the punch panel. Then I just take my pen. Now you can wrap a piece of tape around this and have a tab on it and write on the tabs. That's fine. Sometimes the tape can get tore off pushing it through boxes and things of that sort. You could write a number on here. It's kind of small, it's kind of hard to write on, but you can write numbers on these. I see that a lot at work when contractors do installs. But one of the easiest things to do is just put stripes. So I'm up to number 3. So I literally am just going to put 4 stripes on this. I just put 4 lines on it, 4 stripes. I'll go back on to where the reel is on the other end when I cut its length, and I'll put 4 stripes on it, and that'll tell me number 4 is number 4. Easy. Yeah, you can buy numbers and you can wrap the little tape numbers on them. Like I said, tape, you know what? I think I have some wires, some numbers somewhere. I don't know where they're at. You know, everything's up in the shed because we moved out here. So I have a pen and I have a wire, so easy to do. Now that I've got the wiring, the cable TV wiring through and the Cat 5, I've got some U-nails to hold it. I'm going to nail those nails in now, but I don't nail them tight because you don't want to crimp your wires. Just a little, just snug, just to keep them from moving around. Not tight at all. And that's it for in here. I'm going to go over to the spool and I'm going to cut the spool off the length. So here's the spool that's coming down. I'm going to pull this out and give myself just as much room on this one as I did all the other ones. I'm making them all the same length because I really don't know where inside the utility I'm going to put the computer system quite yet. I got a good idea, you know, but until that day actually comes, you know, it's kind of up in the air. So better give yourself some room now because there's no redos once the walls are in, insulation's up, and all that. So I'm pulling it about the same way. If you notice, see the 2 stripes on that one. This one has 3 stripes. I think that one's got 1. That's got my 1. And as you remember from a second ago, what number was this one? 4. Give yourself a smiley face sticker. So I'm gonna put 4 stripes on here. Four stripes. So I know where that one goes. When it comes time to punch it down in there, makes it easy for labeling it when you get it in there. Sometimes it don't matter, but I like knowing where things go. Now, I'm going to give you the tip of the week. All right, so okay, so you go to the store and you buy a spool of wire. That spool is 1,000 feet long. 1,000 foot of wire. Okay, at first it's easy. It's easy to know. You got plenty. So as you're using it though, you make a lot of pulls. You make a lot of wire runs here and there and everywhere. How do you know you're not getting low? If you have to make a long run like we do at work, because we're going down hallways and hallways, I mean, mow the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drops. How do you know when that spool's getting low? How do you know you're not, a computer wire can be pulled up to 300 feet, 100 yards. You don't want to get at 90 and run out. That's bad juju there. So how do you know? Well, on the wire is a hint. So I'm going to start looking down this wire. Got all kinds of fun stuff, information on there. It's a Cat 6 cable. Gives me the patent number. Really? Got the patent number on it. That one's probably the date of manufacture. Meets ANSI standards. You know, blah, blah, blah. Verified plenum. Tells you what gauge it is. 23. What gauge. Blah, 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 blah. Now, so you can see all the wiring, all the wording on there. Hope it ain't backwards for y'all. Blah, 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 blah. What's that? See that right there? What's that say? 409, 408, 409 or 408 feet. That means you have 408 feet from this point left in that box. So I still got 400 feet of wire left. So I know whether I'm going to run out or I'm not going to run out. That's how we know whether a box of wire is good or not. Usually they get down to 100 or 200 feet and contractors will throw them out. So you wire in your house, you want to save some money, find a wiring contractor in your town. Call a tech company that does wiring, maybe even electricians that do wiring. Just say, hey, save your spools, throw them over in the corner, I'll come get them. You're going to get 100 to 200 to 300 feet of wire on the spools, but that's not worth them messing with. It's not worth their time to be doing that. Now you saw me, I hooked my pull string on here and I pulled my wire up. You saw me do that. When you're wiring a building or when you're wiring a main thing, we might pull 2 boxes. So I'd have 2 wires hooked on here, 3 wires, 4, 5, 6 spools. We make as little amount of pulls as we can. So we pull them in wads, we pull them in bundles. That's why that string is made so good and strong, is because we're pulling large amounts. And so they stack their boxes right beside each other. You know, they'll have 2, 3, 4, boxes on the ground. Wires just rolling out of them as they pull them up through land rooms and through up floors and down the line. So, little tip to trick there. That's how you can find out how much wire you have left on the spool. Tip of the day. Well, you saw me just get done. I cut off that last that cable number 4. Gave you a little tip and trick about finding out how much cable you had left. But so I've already dropped my line down from upstairs again. Ready to roll with the next one. Got my coil, bit my loop, put my loop on there and whatnot. And here's my tip. Here's my trick. You remember earlier what I said about doing with your tape? There's my piece of tape right there. I'm just going to pull it off, put it back on. Boom. Still got my little tab on it. Ready to yank the next one. Doesn't seem like much. Let me tell you what, after you pull about 10 or 15 of them, you ain't got to pull that, roll it up. You know, it's just there. If you want to know how the pros do it at work, that's how some of the pros do it at work. So, there you go. Back to pulling wire.